The Two Towers is the name of a famous book, and Two Towers is what we're looking at here. We have two XCMG tower crane models from Yagao. One is a luffing jib crane and one is a flat top crane, and they're in a scale of 1 to 100. It's a small scale, but these are big boxes. And when we cut the tape and lift the lid, we see why. Here is the flat top crane, and it's largely pre-assembled in the box. The luffing jib crane is also protected by soft paper, and again it's largely pre-assembled in the box. There are no instructions included, but let's see how we get on, and we'll start with the flat top. And as you can see, the reeving of the hoist rope appears to be done. The tower is complete out of the box, so we need to join the jib and the counter jib. And here's the counterweight, which is very nice. It's made up of individual slabs. The jib and the counter jib get pinned together, so it's a good job to make sure the holes are lined up before you try to put the pin in. And the pin is a fairly tight fit in the holes, but that does mean the connection is rigid. So next we use the giant hand cranes to put the jib on top of the tower. It's a good fit as it eases into place, and again it's best to make sure the holes line up first and then insert the steel pins, and 2 are required. Next, for stability, we need to add in the counterweight slabs, and these drop into place from above. This system works well, and when you've got them all in, it's a good fit and they won't drop out. So that's the basic assembly, but the reeving of the crane had to be sorted out. One end of the hoist rope is attached to the trolley, which is wrong, and the rope was also not run correctly from the counter jib through to the jib. To build the luffing jib crane, there's less main assembly work to do, and it just consists of fitting the luffing jib. Because an attempt has been made to have the model reeved out of the box, it all looks a little bit messy in the first instance. The end of the jib slots into place on the machine deck, and there's a plastic clip which secures it. And at this point we see that the reeving of the luffing gear isn't completed and it's not tied on. So the first thing we need to do is to re-reeve that. And here it is, and it's been redone, and all we need to do is to cut off the loose end. Unfortunately, the reeving of the hoist line wasn't done correctly either, because it was run through the bottom, when in fact on the real crane it runs to the top of the A-frame and down into the top of the jib. Both models share the same tower system, which consists of a nice metal base, and the tower sections seem of a very heavy construction with ladders inside, and they are screwed together in a couple of lengths. The climbing frame is modelled nicely, although the handrails seem overscale, and the hydraulic ram is also modelled. At the top, the cab is plastic, and it's nicely detailed inside considering the scale. The counter jib is also very good, and it even has a textured floor on the walkway. And there are some very nice details, including the winches and cabinets. There's also a maintenance crane and a nice XCMG sign, and the separate counterweight pieces look very good. On the main jib there's a trolley motor which has a large axle sticking out, and there's a plastic trolley which has metal pulleys, and the all-metal hook is also very nice. The geometry of the model is reasonably good, the tower's straight, and there's a gentle curve on the jib. The luffing jib crane shares the same cab, and the level of detail on the machine deck is very nice for the scale. And at the back there are nice permanently fixed counterweights. One particular detail is surprising given that this is a 1 to 100 scale model, and that's the access ladder on the A-frame, which also has a metal safety cage. The jib backstops are also nicely modelled. The luffing jib is interesting because it has guide wheels all the way along for the hoist rope line. And the geometry of the jib is also quite good. The pendant bars are plastic with a good profile. At the jib tip there's a plastic basket, and here we've rigged the hook in a single line, which may not be right, but there's no good tying off point at the end of the jib. Starting with the flat top, and it rotates reasonably well. And it's surprising in this scale that the trolley winch actually works. But it works one way only. You can move the trolley to the end of the jib, but you can't wind it back in again, and it has to be moved in by hand. Both cranes feature working winches, but in this small scale there's quite a lot of friction in the system, so lowering the hook needs some manual intervention, even if it's got a load on. Both models also come with an option, which is this giant plastic basket, and it would have been nicer to have a small metal plate with XCMG on it. On the luffing jib crane you can wind in the luffing winch and pull the jib up, and that works well, but there's too much friction in the system to use the winch to lower the jib without intervention. The luffing jib crane also rotates very smoothly. Both these models are in small 1:100 scale, but let's get the tape out and see how big they are. And the flat top is nearly 2 feet tall or 60 centimeters. End to end it's also a big model, and reading the tape it's about 39 inches or 99 centimeters. The luffing jib crane is a taller model, and it's just over 39 inches or 100 centimeters. These are two interesting models of XCMG tower cranes by Yagao. Despite the very small scale, they are detailed, and the best part about them is that they look convincing on the skyline. They are well made with a high metal content, and overall they're nice enough to be rated as good.